Good morning, gang. Hey there. So, not our usual start to the day, I know. I told you guys that I kind of lost 2 hours chit-chatting with my neighbor. She and I were talking about the protein mousse that I showed you guys the clip of, and she asked me if I would be willing to make her some. Her hubby, sweet man, he was unwell for a little while, and he's lost a lot of weight. And she asked me if I would be willing to make her a batch of it because he loves sweet foods. And as you guys know from what I've told you, the protein mousse can actually be very sweet, very rich. And if it'll help him get some extra weight bulked on, in a healthy way, then, I'm willing to do that for her. So I'm going to get the stuff to do that because I need to make myself some too. I took a little break from it. Because temptation and all that. So I'm going to get the stuff to do that for her, for me. I'm getting some stuff to prep for snack stuff for the weekend, when I go to work. And I'm having to go get some stuff to put in my pumpkins because I came out and 2 of them were blown over. It's been kind of windy today. The pumpkins are made of foam. I didn't think about having to weigh them down, so I'm going to hit up the Dollar Tree and get a couple of bags of those little decorative rocks to put in the bottom of the pumpkins so that they have some some heft to them so that a little bit of wind doesn't knock them off. Something I noticed too with it's one main one that fell over twice because I put it back up, put the lid back on it and everything. It getting knocked over is turning the light on. So that's another reason why I've got to get something to weigh them down so that I don't have to worry about the batteries dying too soon. So that's what I've got going on thus far. I figured I would just talk to you guys about some of the stuff that I got going on in the background. So, mentioned my neighbors, and they are super, super sweet, both of them. And their kids are very involved. They're always there, but, this little lady, Miss W, she is doing all this work, taking care of her hubby all by herself most of the time. And I understand how difficult that is, and I want to do what I can to try to help, even if it's just something as simple as giving her some food that he might actually enjoy eating that may help him get a little bit of weight back on. I am not doing it for money, which she offered to pay me. She was like, "I'll pay you for it, but I'm not gonna do that for the money. If it helps, it helps, and that's more than enough." That's why, it's where my mind is at. Anyway, changing the subject. So what you guys aren't privy to is I had a friend of mine who has been in the program. He's been in the program this year. Is going to be 21 years for him. And we had went out on a couple of dates. This was a long time ago. But we stayed friends on Facebook. One of those friends where we're thumbs upping each other's stuff and everything. And he reached out to me a couple of days ago, and we had a whole conversation about losing a parent because he lost his dad a few years back, and apparently he has formed an unhealthy trauma bond with somebody who's been very, very mentally and emotionally abusive toward him. So we had a lengthy conversation about that. We had a lengthy conversation about everything that I've gone through in relation to losing my mom. And it was so refreshing to have somebody validate my feelings. Even after a year, there's so much of it that is still very raw for me. And I don't really have anybody that I can actually just sit down and say, you know, how you're feeling is completely understandable. Your mother was your everything. You know, nobody will ever be able to take that feeling away, but I want you to understand that you're not alone in that feeling. And that's part of why I do some of the videos that I do, and I talk about losing a parent, and I talk about my mother the way that I do, because I don't want anybody else out there to feel like they're alone, because I understand that pain, I understand that hurt. And I apologize about the motorcycle. There's a hot rodder in front of me in traffic. I don't know if y'all can hear that or not, but I figured I would throw that out. So he and I have had a lot of conversations over the last few days, and it has been amazing to be able to have those kind of talks. And I actually told him at one point, you know, that I get told pretty regularly how strong I am as a person, but you know, and this is the, you know, not just since my mother's passed, but I've been told that a lot of times over the years. And Heather and I have even had this conversation that there is a downside to being a strong person, because a lot of people overlook the fact that you could be going through it just as much as they are. But because you're a strong person, most people overlook the fact that you may be going through it just as much as they are. They figure, oh, well, they're such a strong person, they can handle this, you know. And it's usually those of us who are the strongest that we feel it so intensely. And you know, we kind of get ate alive by it for a little bit. And, you know, those of us that are strong, we need people to tell us it's okay to not be strong, and to tell us that what we feel is normal, and to tell us that we have support, you know. You know, I've made the comment before that immediately after my mom died, that, you know, my mom was the pillar of this family. She's the one that kind of held everything together. And when she passed, it kind of fell on me. I mean, I was holding up everybody, my siblings, my dad, the community, you know, the rest of my family, you know, all of my family's friends, you know, everybody was turning to me, expecting me to be the one to tell them it's going to be okay. Ultimately filling my mom's shoes, which is really kind of a difficult situation to be in, because, you know, I have said so many times over the years to people that I am not my mom, that even though we do carry a lot of similarities, appearance, the way we speak, the sound of our voice, our mannerisms and stuff, we are a lot alike, but we are not the same person. But people tend to overlook that, and in the moment it was completely overlooked. It was kind of set to the wayside because nobody could think about that, and it was very hard to push through at the time, you know. So I mean, it's good that I have somebody now that I can have those kind of conversations with, especially now, because, you know, there are still after effects after all this time. You know, my younger brother doesn't deal well with talking about any of that. He doesn't deal well with his emotions. I mean, you guys have seen him on film. He's done lives with me. The assumption, and we've had conversations about this in our family, I mean, he's never been formally diagnosed, but we believe that he is somewhere on spectrum, because he has some of those behaviors and tendencies. So, I mean, dealing with his emotions is not really one of his things. So, he doesn't really do well with that. And then my dad was so quick to get remarried that now he doesn't really talk about my mom anymore. He doesn't really talk about any of it anymore. It is like, oh, well, I've turned over this new leaf and I've got this new bitch and all is right in the world again because I'm not alone. And, you know, here we are. I am kind of left again to deal with it on my own again, you know. So I'm really appreciative of him. His name is Jason. You guys will hear me probably mention Jason again. Super, super nice guy. And I mean, he doesn't watch the channel. He doesn't even know that I have a channel. But if he does ever happen to find this someday, hi Jason, I appreciate you. I'm glad that we're talking again. It means a lot to me. The era was marked with a series of high-profile The era was marked by a series of high-profile assassinations, including President John F. Kennedy, Malcolm X, and Dr. Martin Luther King. These events were both shocked and unsettled. These events were. I'm such a genius. The 1960s witnessed the peak of civil rights struggle in the United States, with racial segregation, discrimination, and the fight for equal rights were major societal stressors. Landmark events like the March of Washington, the Mark of Washington, genius. The most significant and defining event of the 1930s, the Great Depression, was a significant economic downturn that caused widespread unemployment, poverty, and hardship. It resulted from the 1920s What the bloody hell? We did not see a renewal of the zombie subculture. Bloody crap. Hey gang, so you guys can hear it. I got Frenchie on in the background. She's going to be my play along while I'm making protein mousse for my neighbors. Thought I would show you guys the step-by-step on that so that if you wanted to make some, you could. I mean, I did a short where I told you what was in it, but, you know, maybe it'll be easier if I show you. But it's very good, though. So, come along with me. Okay, so 1 container of chocolate, sugar-free, instant pudding, okay? So that's the start. I also put in 2 scoops of protein powder because that's where all your extra protein comes from. And, you know, I like to have that little boost wherever I can get it. Those 2 scoops are a single serving for the protein that I use, but you can use whatever a single serving is for your brand. To give it the Reese peanut butter flavor, I throw in a heaping tablespoon of PB2 because that stuff is just awesome. Sorry, y'all. And then from here, I will throw in our protein shake. And then we throw in our protein shake on top of it. Now, God's honest truth, you may actually have to put just a tiny little drop of milk in it at some point if it happens to be too thick, but usually I don't have that issue. But here we go. I'm going to close this baby up and we're going to blend it. Okay, God's honest truth, you will probably have to stop mid-mix and kind of shift everything because sometimes stuff gets stuck to the outside edges of the bowl, and we want everything to incorporate as well as humanly possible. As you can see, the consistency of it right now is probably kind of like brownie batter. So I'm going to have to drop a little bit of milk in there to help thin it back down, and we'll keep going. Okay, so our milk has made it a little bit more of a pudding consistency. It's still on the thick side. I didn't want to throw any more extra liquid in it simply because we're fixing to fold it in to the whipped cream, and that's gonna take the thickness out of it. Okay, so I've thrown the Cool Whip in here, and as you can see, I'm kind of folding it in, and we want to try to get it pretty well mixed up. And, you know, this is something best done by hand. If you try to use the mixer like you did for the rest of it, then it's going to kind of turn it into a soup versus keeping that fluffiness of the Cool Whip. So keep that in mind. Although if you don't mind eating soup, eating sugar, very sweet soup, then knock yourself out, I guess. You know, to each their own. You know what I mean? And there it is. I put it back in the original bowl because what's the point of throwing it away when you're just going to end up using it? You can just use it to store. I'm going to pop this in the refrigerator and let it firm up a little bit, and then it'll be good to go. Hey gang, so it's end of day. A lot of you guys are already asleep. I am working on resetting my sleep schedule for tomorrow. I'll work 2 shifts, Saturday, Sunday. Then I'll be back off again on Monday. There's been a fair amount that's kind of gone on today that, I didn't really cover, and I guess I could talk about some of that tomorrow when I can record on the way to work and just kind of fill you guys in on that. My neighbors were super happy with the protein mousse. Miss W, she hugged my neck and told me thank you. I had to explain to her that it's not going to take a lot of it at one time to settle a sweet tooth for him, and it'll be good to add protein to his diet to help him gain weight, like a healthy weight, versus just fat. So my plan from here is I'm going to go in the kitchen and do some meal prepping, and I have decided after all the conversation on Frenchie's channel earlier about making stuff that reminds you of your mom and helps you feel good, I am going to do my mom's chicken and rice casserole, which I'm going to alter to boost it and make it high protein. So I will probably record that and release it Monday. It's an amazing meal. If you do the full recipe setup, you have enough food for 4+ people for about 4 or 5 days, like multiple meals. But I'm going to let you guys go. I appreciate you checking in. Thank you for hanging out with me. I will check in with you guys tomorrow. Hope you have a good day. Bye, y'all.